Namaskar, good evening, and a very warm welcome to you from Team Hingori Sutras. Our topic of discussion today is altruism, or what we call Seva. We've discussed the subject many times, but today let's delve a little deeper. Let's understand, introspect, and apply what truly constitutes an altruistic behavior. And let's come to the answer to the question: while I practice what I believe to be Seva, am I a giver or a receiver? To help us delve deeper into the subject today, we have two very accomplished professionals, but that is not their claim to fame. What they really stand out for is that they walk the talk and how they live their lives. Their mantra being philanthropy, seva, done with absolute no expectation of reward whatsoever, showing concern for someone else's well-being, helping all living beings despite or or using their own personal wealth and maybe sometimes despite risks as well. So a very warm welcome to you, SP and VK. आज आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है. Okay. Hello and good evening to you.
Good evening everybody. Thank you Anjali for this opportunity, and good evening to our dear listeners and viewers.
Yeah. Today, Namaste ji. And आज का ये session is to inspire everyone to think beyond what we've always been discussing about how do we do seva, what is the kind of seva we want to do. Let's really get deeper into the subject today. But let's start from the basics. If I may ask you the question, VK, what is the meaning of seva? What does seva really mean to you?
Namaste ji, once again to everyone. पहले तो आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, टीम हिंगोरी सूत्रा का, और all the people who have joined on this session. So thank you very much. सेवा बड़ा छोटा सा लफ्ज है, पर इतनी गहराई है इस लफ्ज में कि शायद उम्रें लग जाती हैं समझने में कि इसका सही मतलब क्या है. अगर एक बड़ी एलिमेंट्री चीज देखी जाए तो सेवा इज समथिंग विच यू कैन डू फिजिकली. यू कैन डू इन टर्म्स ऑफ किसी की मदद करना, किसी को खाना देना, किसी को मोहब्बत से बात करना, could be seva. सेवा मल्टी डायमेंशनल अप्रोच है जो मल्टी फैसेटेड इम्प्रूवमेंट करती है इंसान की पर्सनालिटी. आई थिंक सेवा का भाव जो है वो शुरू होता है दूसरों के लिए, लेकिन एज वी विल डिस्कस फर्दर, आई थिंक इट एंड्स अप helping one's own personality and spiritual improvement over the time, जैसा मैं खुद एक्सपीरियंस कर चुका हूँ, and as we dwell further we will talk about it. But
I really look forward to your hearing your experiences, VKG. If I can now put the same question to SP, if you could tell us what does seva really mean to you?
Namaskar once again to everyone. I think VK put it so well to start off. Basically, in very lucid or simple words, seva is service. You know, it's service in any form, as you may visualize, to any living being on earth. That is basically the essence of seva. And the way I look at it, I've looked at it as a very strong mode of evolution of the inner self. At the end of the day, we all look at the growth of the inner self in some form or the other. So, you know, I kind of evolved this in another angle. If you look at the spelling of Seva, as in SEWA, So in my view, I have looked at Seva, SEWA, as serve everyone without attachment. If you look at Seva
Lovely.
as SEVA, serve everyone void of attachment. So basically, that eliminates so many things. There's this misconception of doership, etc. If you're going to do Seva or serve somebody in any form, as my co-speaker said so well, a gesture of affection, mentorship, guidance, or in any way you can advance the other being is Seva. If you look at an evolved situation, you're looking at our spiritual self reaching out to the spiritual self as far as any other living form is concerned. So that's how I have evolved over the years looking at Seva.
Right. So what you're saying is, if we can continue on this, that can you just go a little bit deeper into how Seva really helps? And is there actually a purpose of Seva?
Look, as I prefaced, basically doing Seva, please don't get attached. The minute you get attached, it's a business deal. So it has to be something very nonchalant, very casual, very unconscious. Accept it as a part of destiny and move on, do the best that you can do. At a point of time, the mental situation of that particular individual who's performing or doing Seva should be so on level as if it's so natural as breathing, as doing any involuntary act of the body. Like, for example, we sometimes chant hymns, etc. It's very subconscious. It's very unconscious. It should be just a part of you, virtually a second nature, where it's like, in the morning you wake up, that magnetism should be attracted that, okay, something has to happen. The waves will attract people for you to guide them, offer them two good words of praise, etc. That's how Seva should actually become a part of your life and evolve itself and become a virtual necessity of every day. That's the way I treat it in my own life.
So what I understand from you is Seva should eventually become like how we breathe. We don't really pay attention to the way we're breathing.
Absolutely.
Right? But to regulate our breath, we do pranayam. So what is the easiest way for us to start performing Seva, VK? If you could just help us with that.
I think easiest way to perform Seva is to change your mindset, change the way you think about situations. Someone said very nicely, he said, every moment is an opportunity to do Seva. तो सेवा करने के लिए सेवा को तलाशने की जरूरत नहीं है, वो आपके आसपास है. It's just around you. You look around what is surrounding you: people, animal kingdom, plant kingdom, nature, jal, vayu, agni. Everything around you is an opportunity to do Seva, and it exists in every moment. I think once you start probing your inner conscious and try to think how I can help the situation or how I can assist in surroundings to become better, that is the moment of Seva.
Beautifully said. So here, what I understand from what you're saying is that what you need is an empathetic viewpoint, or you live a life of empathy, which sort of creates a connection that enables you to feel compassion and create a connection with everything that is around you, where you can sense the suffering of others, or it gives you a rise to an impulse to elevate their suffering. And it's like it gives rise to that altruistic act within you.
Absolutely. I mean, put yourself in other shoes as a human being, but also put yourself, if you were a plant, what would you feel? If you were an animal, what would you feel? If you were soil, what would you feel? So if you put yourself into that form or shape or manner, I think you can relate with that in terms of act that you are going to do for something else.
Right. Right. If I go back to SP, you did mention about, Seva becoming, an act that you do naturally without really putting thought to it. But living the kind of life that we do today, how much of time should one typically devote to performing Seva? You have a full-time profession and a very busy day from morning to evening. So how do you then sort of inculcate or incorporate Seva into your daily professional life?
Well, living in a metro like Mumbai, basically, there is a perennial paucity and there will be a perennial paucity of time. So I look at it this way, that having been aligned to this through my spiritual guide and my Guruji, or even earlier than that, it's something which, your mindset compels you to create that time, reach out, as my co-speaker said, just share that moment. Like it could be just helping someone cross the road, spending those 2 minutes to guide somebody. It's an indirect form eventually, because what happens over a point of time is, as one evolves slowly, you know, it's like a satellite or something which is a kind of a radar. Your body waves, the magnetic waves start emanating, and you get all kinds of, you get all kinds of signals where help is required. So you will have to actually somewhere do make the time. I'm not saying it's something which is very involuntary, because it grows within you. That's the way the spirit has to really work. But yes, initial efforts are required to have that thought process inculcated within oneself, that I have to make this time. I have to share myself. I have to share the joy which the Almighty has blessed me with. Carry it forward. That's how the whole process will then, kind of fructify, where you will then eventually find out sometime during the day, over the week, and it becomes part of you eventually for your own growth.
Right. True. In fact, we received a question which is an extension of this. And Vicky, if I could ask you that question, कि क्या 100 लोगों को खाना खिलाना is the same as 100 लोगों का खाना के पैसे देना?
बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग सवाल है, कुछ संजोग चीज से भी जुड़ा हुआ है।
बिल्कुल।
बट 100 लोगों, अगर बॉम्बे में टाइम नहीं है आपके पास और आप जाके नहीं खिला सकते हैं, तो आई थिंक देयर इज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी इन डूइंग सेवा इन टर्म्स ऑफ गोइंग देयर एंड doing it yourself. But in paucity of time, if you can't do that, that's another way of doing seva. But that seva probably will be charity if you are not able to do it yourself. That seva will probably be philanthropy, जो आप खुद जाके नहीं कर सकते हैं. But if you want to learn out of a situation, if you want to improve yourself, if you want to connect as a soul to soul, if you want to see what is on the other side of the wall, not on yours only, तो कोशिश करके then you should make an effort to do it yourself. Paucity of time being a fact of life. I think it is far better if you can do it yourself. But if you can't do it, then of course, then there are alternatives of charity and philanthropy. Seva doesn't, in my dictionary, seva doesn't have an equivalent English word. So for sake of not finding anything equivalent, I'm saying then you can do philanthropy and charity.
Like what you said earlier, a warm smile to someone who's in pain is something that you can physically do, and it doesn't require any time, right? So yes, it's not just feeding people is not the only seva that can be done. Yeah, very true. Very true. In fact, yes, we generally land up talking about looking after humans, alleviating the pain of human beings. What about the plants, the animals? And here, SP, I know you've been doing this for years. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yes, of course.
Give us your story.
Okay, I'll just take VK's point also a little to a limited extent. You know, this business of not business, sorry, it's the wrong word. The effort of maybe feeding 100 people personally and then delegating somebody to go there, which VKG puts so well, sending somebody's charity, step in the shoes, be there to feel it, be there to understand that joy which is from year to year on the face of the person whom you're feeding. Do not get attached to that particular process, but that joy which one feels in looking at them, rejoicing, enjoying that meal is simply divine. Believe you me. I do some work on the other end as far as some Jaipur food work is concerned. I have seen boys, small children come on crutches, okay? And after 3 hours, they are walking back with a proper Jaipur food. Tell me, Anjali ji, isn't that just God's grace? At the end of it, we all are mediums. Seva is a medium which the Almighty is getting done through us. So the pleasure of being there is amazing.
Absolutely. And the key word that is what you just put in was that we are a medium.
We are a medium. We are at the end of the day a medium. So coming back to my favorite topic of birds, animals, and plants, yes, it's been like donkey's years that I've been feeding the sparrows, the parrots. I buy feeders, I distribute them. I have been celebrating the World Sparrow Day on 20th of February, 20th of March every year, but for these last 2 years. So I pick up the feeders and people come here. I see that they're distributed to schools and other people whom they want to. We hang them outside the windows at our own house also and other friends. And it's a joy. I tell you, it's a joy to see them coming back. People say sparrows have disappeared out of Mumbai. No, I tell them, come to Matunga and see them. They're right here in all the colleges around the area. So that's another form. Yes, it's something very close to my heart. But I do reach out to plants. We plant a lot of trees around the year in schools, in various parks if possible. And as my spiritual guide has said, preferably fruit plants so that the fruits really augur well to so many people and also shade over the years to come. So yes, as I said, when I began, Seva to any living being on this earth is the ultimate manifestation of what we are here for.
That takes me to thinking about something very deep in terms of what you said. That is what we are here for, and that is what we've taken birth for.
Absolutely.
Stages of Seva, formal or informal, VK?
थोड़ा अजीब गरीब सवाल है, फॉर्मल या इनफॉर्मल सेवा कैसे हो सकती है? I don't think there is any formal or informal seva. I think seva is more classified as perceivable or non-perceivable. Formal, informal, अपनी जगह पे ठीक है, but I think an act of seva that you do, irrespective of for whom you are doing, can be viewed as perceivable or non-perceivable in others' eyes. In your own eyes, it shouldn't even cross your mind that you are doing it. As earlier SP was saying, you become so unique in oneness with it that you stop categorizing it, in which category it is. That's how I feel about it. पुराने ज़माने में actually, if I go to my grandfather, he used to say a very nice phrase, "Neki kar darya mein dal." It is neki in loose word translated, ends up being seva. So he used to say, why are you thinking about it? कि ये क्या है, क्या नहीं है? You just do it and forget about it.
True. In fact, that's what brings me to the next question. When you say, why are you thinking about it? Right? And SP said that we are a medium. So then what do you think? Am I a giver or am I a receiver of Seva?
Oh, that's
SP.
very interesting. Very interesting. I will talk about it. Allow me to digress for a moment on the earlier topics where you initially asked that what form should Seva assume? I'll give you two simple examples which happened this morning when I went for returning while I was walking, and I noticed a truck parked at the side of the road. The man is frantically talking on the phone to somebody and asking for directions. Okay. I walked 5 paces ahead. Then I came back. I said, seems to be lost. So I went to him. I said, Kya hua bhaiya? He said, Sir ji, ye pata nahi mil raha humko. So I said, show me the address. I said, हाँ ये यहाँ पर है. Now being in the area, perhaps I said just 2 lanes down the left. So like, that also was some indirect form. He was distressed. He was lost. Maybe he would have lost in the 10 minutes making a few calls. And that man would say, no, you go left, you go right. So all that I did was just retrace 5 steps, went to him, guided him, and I went on my walk. Now, since we are talking about it now, I kind of just rewound. I said, let me share this illustration, which is live. The second is, on the road, many times we walk, we find sometimes banana skin just tossed away. Now, I somehow, like I said, it's become second nature. I mean, it's not about one man ship or I ship, okay? Let me clear that so that the viewers should not be misled. I tend to move the banana skin aside on the road, away from the curb, away to a corner, least someone falls down, injures himself, hurts himself. It's just a thought, Anjali, which has kind of grown over the years. You have let your mind loose that way so that it kind of picks up all these signals. And this is evolution. This is well within yourself. I hope I made myself clear for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So now coming back to what you posed, I'm sure VKG will have his a lot to discuss on this. But I looked at it very easily and very simply in the sense of I think both words are quite relative. And at the end of the day, if one looks at oneself, and I pose this question to myself also, am I not the receiver in some form, primarily for being blessed with a spiritual guide to the Almighty for where I'm sitting today and all the joy and happiness that He has given me? So I am a receiver in one way. Am I not? So I would like VKG to elucidate his views, what he feels about this, and then maybe we could go forward to discussing as regards
Yes.
the givership concept. Certainly.
VKG, what is your take on this?
Being a science student, मैं इस बारे में सोच रहा था कि यार ये what is this, and I was is it a giver or a receiver or how it is? So, and I was trying to find in my head some chemistry reaction jahan pe equilibrium ho, but I thought I couldn't find any specific example, but I think it's a beautiful equilibrium. It's not a one-way street that one is giver and another one is a receiver. I think we as human beings are just acting as catalysts. एक कैटलिस्ट का केमिस्ट्री रिएक्शन में काम होता है कि वो खुद कुछ नहीं करता, लेकिन सर्कमस्टांसेस ऐसे बना देता है कि वो हो जाता है. The only differentiation being कि हम catalyst, when catalyst come out of the chemistry reaction, वो catalyst ही रहता है, लेकिन हमारे को उससे ऊपर उठना चाहिए इंसान को, in the sense that by this act we have to find what is there for self-improvement, what is there for our spiritual improvement, and continue to do so, without the thought of getting entrapped into the realm of a giver or a receiver, because there will be multiple examples that probably we will go through, justifyingly proving कि इस प्रोसेस में कोई गिवर और टेकर है नहीं, ये रिवर्स भी हो सकता है as you dwell deeper into it.
Quite true. What I understand from you is that, when we talk about whether we're a giver or receiver, if I have given someone some food and received their gratitude. So I become a receiver, right? Because I've accepted something in return. So here I mean, you did use the word business and we said we wouldn't, but here there is this, what you call the balance sheet that needs to be looked in, where our sole purpose is to reduce that weight that we put in that pot of us, which is called the karma share, which we're going to carry with us. So when you say the purpose of coming here was to lighten that, and to not think about these things and just to do. Yeah. So that, what I read in the book Karma Sutra, one of the most important, I think the most influencing, and I mean, it was like a aha moment for me, was the concept of non-doership. So, when, so here, I'd like to take this further a bit, open the questions to both of you. So when I attribute sevas to, let's do it step by step. Let's start off with the first thought that comes to my mind. And this is a question that was posted by our audience, that when I attribute seva to others, for example, my ancestors, does the benefit of seva accrue to me as well, or only the blessings of the ancestors, or how does this entire concept work? So, I mean, either of you could answer that question.
Please go ahead, SP.
You see, basically the way I look at it, Anjali, first of all, like I said, the premise is very clear that there should be no expectation out of seva.
Right.
If there is enrichment to happen, is it not already destined? Is everything not already written? The karma, the balance sheet, or what we call the debit or the credit balance, which we inherit, and the legacy we may leave behind. So whether giver or receiver, at the end of the day, the only touchstone is destiny. So having said that, I will keep it a very open situation, that where there's a role play involved, where you're a receiver, you keep on trying and discharging that obligation towards nature, Mother Nature, or Mother Earth as it is. And where, of course, the opportunity does manifest, keep on giving. There is no limit. There is just no today or tomorrow. For eternity, whether now or never, just keep on performing your duty, keep on discharging that the ability which is there within you to the extent possible. So coming back, as far as the issue of ancestors is concerned, if you ask me, yes, I have been doing some things for my grandparents who we revered, of course, but did I think of expecting anything for them in return? My answer very categorically is no. I did it because we loved them. I did it because they looked after us and we were children then. Maybe there was no ability then in terms of even finance, but we could do it now. So if you ask me, as I said, if you use destiny as a touchstone, if there's an addition or a minus happening, why bother about it? It's going to happen anyway. Let's get on with our life, be happy with what we are doing, perform the duty up to the hilt. That's the way I would address this question, without looking at plus or minus or an addition or subtraction.
Fabulous. From here, I would like to go back to the question, the thought of destiny. If if VK, if you could put in something about the destiny. There's a question here by Nakul saying, does destiny play a part in giver and receiver? So let's just clarify that destiny and its role in seva.
Indeed true. Indeed true. I think we have read Gurudev, we have heard Guruji. Destiny is eventually there. No running away from it. Not knowing about it does not make it any different, in realm terms. So destiny is pre-written, as we probably would agree. तो अगर ये किसी टाइम एंड स्पेस और मूवमेंट में हो रहा है तो इट इज रिटन देयर ऑलरेडी. इट इज वेरी मच टाइड टू द डेस्टिनी एंड it is in the destiny of a, if in a, because we are simple human beings, so we have to define these terms, receiver, taker. That makes it easy to understand, but eventually it is destiny of both, right? Receiver or giver. For that particular time and moment, that destiny is very much written there. Our perception, although might be, as we were earlier also, formal, informal versus perceived, non-perceivable, we were talking. Our perception could be that one is a giver, one is a taker, but it could be actually reverse at that time and stage, but certainly linked to the destiny.
So what
I completely endorse him. I completely endorse what he says.
Absolutely. In fact, what it got me thinking, and I read this in our books also, is that if it is in your destiny to give, you can only give if it is in the destiny of the other to receive.
Absolutely.
So then who are we to
Why question it, Anjali? Why question it?
Why question it? Absolutely. So this also brings forth the point of intent while you're doing seva. What is your intent and how you perceive? I mean, that was really nicely put about our perception. So I would like to delve a little deeper into intent and our perception of doing seva, because the moment we start to create this divide between giver and receiver means we are still stuck in what we call the physical ego of identity. I'm not talking about the ego as in how generally we negatively perceive it, but I'm talking about even identity. That means we still separate every being that we serve, and the whole idea of seeing that consciousness of the divinity within who you're serving, that humility that needs to come in, and with that intent of just being one with whom you serve, which then sort of constitute that eventually, if you're one, or aham brahmasmi, I am one with the consciousness supreme. So who are we serving? And who are we receiving from? Okay. So my question here is, how does one move to that mental state of non-doership? So how do we shed those layers?
See, I put it this way, Anjali, at the end of the day, as you rightly said, if you look at attributes of seva, basically, you're looking at humbleness, you're looking at humility, you're looking at empathy, and of course, maybe eons of compassion. Because unless you have these thoughts within yourself, you can't trigger yourself within to look at it in the other form.
And say, I'm not the doer.
That's right.
Right.
So, having said that, we somewhere have to acknowledge that we are all maybe specks, small particles of the ultimate supreme consciousness. Once that starts percolating within us, once we accept destiny, I'm not saying that we resign to destiny, but accept destiny as a part of life and then look at the whole realm, perhaps it will then sink in that fine, it has just to be done as a service. And I don't think that's a very typical thought process. Once you reach that, and once you're able to convince your inner self that this is what I'm here for, this is what I'm required to do, no attachments, no expectations, completely selfless. I think that's the best way onwards.
Beautifully. So you summarized our talk completely in these words. And VK, now आप बताएं, आप कैसे summarize करेंगे the ideal mindset with respect to Seva?
आइडियल माइंडसेट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू सेवा, तो पहले डूअरशिप की एक थोड़ी सी जो आपने चर्चा छेड़ी उस पर बात कर लेते हैं
जी.
आई थिंक if you stop taking ownership of what you are doing and attribute it to the higher self, तो कहानी खत्म हो जाती है. Then you don't have to get into this nitty-gritties of doership. अगर आप ये मान के चलें कि ये जो मैं कर रहा हूं मैं कर ही नहीं रहा हूं, it is not I who's into it. Remove the I from it and everything will fall into place in my eyes, in the way I see it. Coming to your current questions, what question which you said was, I think I agree with SP completely. In some words, he said, if it becomes a second nature to you, you became a complete oneness with it. You know, आप जो कर रहे हैं वो दिल से कर रहे हैं, तो उसमें रिटर्न या ओनरशिप या डूअरशिप का सवाल ही कहाँ पैदा होता है. आप जो कर रहे हैं बस दिल से कर रहे हैं. That's how it should be taken in short and simple form.
Gee, thank you very much. This was a beautiful session with these discussions, and now I am opening the house to questions. So we already see a few questions that have come in, some earlier, which were sent to our email ID, answers@hingorisutras.in. Audience, if you do have further questions post our session on any topic to do with, or any topic that you'd like to hear about in our sessions, please do write to us at answers@hingorisutras.in. Yeah. In the meanwhile, if I can open the house and please post the questions. The first question here is from Devraj, who asks, does Seva help increase our aura? So, I mean, I leave it open to VK, if you'd like to take that up.
Ji, sure. Without a doubt, Nissandeh, it will, sometimes you have to, how to say, beautify your soul, and it comes naturally then on your face. 100% your aura will increase with this bhav. Yes.
SP,
I would endorse that also. I would endorse that undoubtedly. And believe you me, it's purely out of experience. I'm saying that aura manifests with a sublime glow within yourself. Many a times, maybe on the face. You may not even want it to happen. It's there. That's the joy of Seva. That's the way it manifests. It's like pieces of the puzzle just falling in place automatically without you even moving your hand.
True. As I see it, aura is that cosmic currency that we require when we move to the next world.
Absolutely.
And Seva is one of the ways to earn that, that the gati that we call in.
That's right.
Required. Yeah. We have another question here. We did talk about gunas. We have all of us have all the gunas, a bit of all. Say we have a bit of tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic, and of course, the goal again, doing Seva, is to move more towards sattvic. Yeah. So, how does Seva help and us sort of change the balance of the gunas within us? And we do have this. We have a guna analysis in one of our book. Atma Sutra is going to be out soon, the second edition, mid next month. So we have an analysis chart. So sometimes people feel a little low when they see that that, oh, I've got a bigger chunk of tamas in me. But how can we use the attributes that are already within us to our benefit through seva? SP, if you have many.
Yeah, I'll take this. It's like this. You see, as I said, we come in as a bundle of joy, and all the attributes are put within us by Mother Earth, Mother Nature, and the Almighty. And gradually, as we evolve, manifestations happen. We start understanding ourselves and looking within, etc., etc. All that is what we have evolved and learned over the years. But as regards the gunas, really, I guess the way I've looked at myself, and I'm sure it would also benefit the viewers and the audience, that there's no issue in pointing a finger at yourself. This is negative, that is positive. Accept what is there. Try to grow. And in that growing, using seva as part of that growth, I'm sure you can achieve in reducing and succeed in reducing the debit balances and maybe enhancing the credit without even stopping to find out how much credit there is. It's all there in the annual accounts which the Almighty writes. So help yourself by resorting to these things and enhancing your positive gunas is the way I would address it, Anjali.
Right. Vicky, would you like to add in anything on this?
जी उम्र के साथ हम बढ़ते चले जाते हैं. We're a tiny little bit toddler, and then we become a bit young ones, and then grow older and grow with life. It's a physical process that will keep happening. But as physical process के दौरान हमारी जो spiritual journey है, वो कैसे grow होगी? और अगर आपने spiritually grow करना है, तो I think seva is the easiest tool for you. As Gurudev would have mentioned at several places, it's one of the easiest spiritual tool. हालांकि करना मुश्किल है जब आप doership concept तक पहुंच जाएं और detachment तक पहुंचे, लेकिन ये एक बहुत important tool है amongst other tools that can help you evolve in your spiritual journey. So as you grow along, naturally doing seva will also alter your gunamics. From Rajasic to world Sattvic, from Tamasic to world Sattvic, because that's how you start thinking. That is how you start believing, and that's what mentally pushes you up in terms of doing it. So indeed, seva is one of the very big spiritual tools that you can have.
Gee. Thank you.
Anjali, may I just add to this for a moment?
Please do. Yes, please do.
The book Karma Sutra, which you referred to earlier, written by Hingori, and where Gurudev's words are, I may just borrow these words. Gurudev, as written, expressed by Hingori, is he felt seva was the most important aspect and needed the maximum focus. So I think these few words itself resonate the intensity and depth of what seva really means and what it can eventually help you achieve.
Absolutely. Fabulous. Thank you for sharing that with us. And here there's another question. Here is Jay Malhotra would like to know, can you please elaborate on giver turning receiver and receiver turning as a giver? So he just wants a little bit more on that again.
Shall I take it?
Yes,
Yes.
VKG, please.
SP, you are taking?
No, I will add
Please,
to you.
VKG.
Okay. Actually, ये पूरा सेशन ही जय जी ये कंसेप्ट पे है, हु इज द रिसीवर एंड हु इज द गिवर. तो इन माय आईज इतने लोग बैठ के सुन रहे हैं और जिन्होंने अपना समय दिया, तो हम रिसीवर हैं. शायद ये सेशन स्टार्ट हुआ होगा तो आपने सोचा होगा हम गिवर हैं, बट अगर आप इसको पलट के देखें तो हम रिसीवर हैं. And true to that form, any situation that you fall into, just flip it around. And the opportunity that has been presented to you as a person who can do something becomes a receiver, not a giver. तो जब भी ऐसा कोई संकोच आपके मन में हो, कोई डाउट हो, आप फ्लिप कर दीजिए सिचुएशन. And suddenly you will find you are in a different mode, and you can keep flipping it around as many times as you want.
Well said.
You, SP, would you like to add anything?
Yes, of course. I mean, it was so well put, the flipping. It's virtually a role play that let that moment flow. You just perform your role, just do your duty, just do your own, whatever you're supposed to expect you to do at that point of time. You could be either a giver or receiver at any point of time, and it could keep on fluctuating and varying during the day, during the phases of life. But keep on doing it. That's more important. Do not stop. You should not be held back for you to analyze and be judgmental. Was I the giver or am I the receiver? Just play your role. Live up to it. That's all. I think that's the best thing to think.
Right. Very true. In fact, this is also an answer to the question put here is, how does one become an observer to the act of Seva? So what you just said answers that question as well. And would you like to add anything else to the concept of observership?
Well, not really. I mean, I would find it a bit, I won't say novel, but in the sense, how can you be an observer? You just have to be there in either being giving or receiving without being conscious about that role. Just keep on performing your seva or, whatever is there for that moment. You can't stand on the fence and see, okay, I'm now going to observe myself whether I'm a giver or receiver. No, I don't think that concept perhaps is conceivable. That's the way I look at it. I would love to see what VKG feels about it.
Endorsing you completely, SPG. I think don't get entrapped
That's the point.
about the nuances
Attached.
of attached. This sometimes get out of it and feel कि यार ये होना है. When you are accepting that it is destiny, when you are accepting that there is no giver or taker, just accept what you are doing is what was supposed to happen. That's how take it.
Right. When we spoke about attached, here came in another question which says, why are we so attached to the material world?
That's interesting. Well, it's illusion at the end of the day. So I think the only answer which can perhaps quickly give you is, I mean, the best solution is don't get attached to anything. Just play your role. As Vipin, as we've been always told, attachment leads to various other things. So why don't we just kind of move on with whatever is there with the situation? And of course, since we are looking at Seva, it's a different concept altogether. And I therefore abbreviated it as Seva without attachment. Yeah. So attachment stops you, holds you back, makes you answerable. And that's not perhaps what we are trying to, put forth across in this lecture.
Right. In fact, Vipin, do you have anything to add in, BK?
Yeah, it's a small little funny thing that I wanted to say, but
yes.
I को हटा दीजिए. जस्ट आई जो मैं अहम को हटा दीजिए तो सब स्थिति सॉल्व हो जाएगी. आई डोंट थिंक देन द अटैचमेंट पार्ट विल कम इन. हालांकि इसका फनी पार्ट ये था कि मैंने कोशिश की मैं को हटाने की और मैं हम बोलना शुरू कर दिया. तो मेरी वाइफ हमेशा ही मुझसे कहती है हम मतलब कौन, तुम एंड हु एल्स अराउंड यू. सो दैट क्रॉस माय माइंड कि बड़ा in that domain it is difficult, but in the spiritual world domain I को हटा दीजिए तो कहानी सॉल्व हो जाए.
Yeah, probably why are we so attached to the material world is because we think that this is the real, and it's strange because we see when we are born we come with nothing, when we're going to take back nothing. And this entrapment of Maya, which just because we're so into the five senses of touch, feel, sight, smell, taste, and hearing, that we are not able to connect with what is within. That spirit of yours that is living for thousands of years has been sort of encaged in, or sort of encapsulated through so many layers of this sense attachment to senses. I think maybe a little bit of a journey within would help you see that little light within, which would help break the attachment to the material world, and with the thought of believing that this material stuff is not there forever. It is ever changing. The climate is ever changing. Your life is ever changing. The way you were as a kid to you grow up is ever changing. So, I mean, I think it's a matter of how you look at it, and you find that strength or that vision, or whichever way it does work for you. Whether it works through Seva, it works through Mantra Vidya, it works through Gyan and reading. That one inspiration that can work for you to be able to see that light within and realize that no, what you think in the material world is not real.
Well said, Anjali. It's a state of nothingness what we're looking at.
Yes, absolutely. And for that nothingness, you need to quieten this physical mind and connect with your spiritual within mind, I would say, or the intellect. And there's this one, I think this is the last question here. There's one more question. He says it's very important that how is the worldly life that we can, how in the worldly life that we can accept adharmic, something adharmic. Should we fight it, or should we accept whatever is going on? So basically here is a question on acceptance, and on when you see something that you can't connect with, or you don't believe is right or correct, what should one do? I open it to both of you.
Vikaji, let me take it for a moment, then you can add. I'll just take a minute or two. Well, let me put it this way, Anjali. I do admire this question because it's a question which perhaps every youngster or many people would have. So it's something which I went through in my life at the earlier part of my life when I saw the system going haywire, corruption, etc., etc. And I said, what is this? Exactly contrary to what was taught to us in school. But then point is, what did I do? How did I think about it? How did I extricate myself? I said, you have to accept the situation. Don't allow yourself to be led astray. If your values, your principles, and your thoughts are absolutely firm and steady, move on, find a way. You think positively, the Supreme One opens the doors for you. So it's nothing that you need to get bogged down with. Believe you me, the gentleman who's asked this question, nothing to fear. Just look, put your head up high, and you'll find a solution. Think positively. You may not be able to change the situation or the system, but you can't allow yourself to fall down and stagnate. You have to move on, find an answer. There will be one within yourself.
Vicky ji, आप क्या कहते हैं?
Absolutely. In agreement with SP, I think in everyone's life there comes a situation, not one time, multiple times, at different phases of life, at different instances of life, where you start wondering, why me? मेरे साथ ही क्यों हो रहा है ये सब?
Why me?
Why me?
Yes.
Why me? I think, yes, it requires effort and understanding to deal with that situation at that point of time. But as SP said, you have to move on. You have to find a way. Seek inside you. और अगर अंदर से जवाब नहीं मिले तो फिर गुरु के पांव पकड़ो, गुरुदेव के पांव पकड़ो, कहीं ना कहीं से कुछ ना कुछ मिल जाएगा आपको. You will find what is the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, you will be facing such circumstances. We are human beings. We will face such circumstances, but grow above it.
You know, I got a very different perspective right now while you were talking, and that is, how about considering this as a trap? This is a trap. When you see something wrong, to see whether you're going to fall into the trap and get into the trap of criticism, gossiping, and attracting those very qualities towards you, without questioning it. Or are you going to let it pass, being non-judgmental, and you cut it where it is and go back, I would say, karmically well there? Because in the book we have this: when you criticize a quality, it is an electromagnetic, akin to the electromagnetic concept, where you are attracting some of those qualities within you. The moment you attach a reaction to what somebody else is doing, you are actually bringing a bit of that towards you. No, I think the better thing to do would be to respond and to understand that, no, I don't want to be a party in this in any form, whether it is in my mental form or in my physical form. And I don't want to own that very situation or be. So, and if you believe in the concept of destiny again, if it is in your destiny to be party to observing what's happening wrong, it is in the destiny of the other person to probably teach you and make you realize that that's not where you want to be. So I think we could probably thank the other person for bringing them that realization into you, and just look the other way, whistle and walk away.
That's it. Just let it pass.
Let it pass.
Yeah.
And with this, I think we have a very content audience, as there are no more questions. And dear audience, if you still do have any questions, we would be happy to answer them. And if you would like to take this forward with any other question, a spiritual question, please do write to us at answers@hingorisutras.in. And if you would like to know a lot more about karma, please do read the book Karma Sutra by Hingori. It is available in an e-format, that is like in an ebook format, for free in almost all the aggregator sites online. But if you prefer hard copies, please do go on to our site www.hingorisutras.in, and you could order yourself a copy, or even on Amazon. With that, I'd like to thank both our speakers today for such a fabulous, enriching, and insightful session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anjali,
बहुत
and
धन्यवाद.
thank you for the audience also. And let me just add one more line. Please, all of you all, Karma Sutra will hold you together and guide you on this path of Seva. So well written, so beautiful. It has inspired not only me, but so many others. Thank you once again for a patient hearing.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जी. ये शुक्रगुजार for this opportunity.
Thank you, ji.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear audience, for the patient listening. Good night, Shubh Ratri, Sayonara.